Bases dropped here on Soccer's Morning Show on the SDH Network. John here, you there, day 2 of the summer cold, so I'm going to apologize up front because, I may sound like Lauren Bacall, and that's your Google search for today, kids. We're fighting it. A little better today than it was yesterday, and we've gone to the Fisherman's Friend, the Extra Strong, so you may see me hit that in a little bit. Here's the layout for the show. Bat and lead off, we're going to catch up with our friends at Peoria City because they're in a title game and we got to get smart. So we're going to find out everything about what's going on in USL League Two in Peoria City. And we're going to talk about everything else that's going on. Morning, Alex. We've got stuff in Paris. We've got the last day of the group stage going on. Games at 9, 11, 1, and 3. And we'll go over all of that. There's news involving Atlanta United where they signed an international slot. And we'll get into that discussion and find out, I wonder what could be happening. We can do the Daniel Rios celebration. We can sit here and go like this and figure out, I think we all know, but we'll get into signing of an international slot and where that goes. And we've got update in Canada. We've got updates in lower divisions. We've got updates in Europe and all the stuff. That's the official term. So no dilly, no dally zone. We're bringing in Matt Sheehan from our friends at Peoria City. And I blame us because we were talking, and that's why we were at 9:06 Eastern start instead of a 9:05. Matt, thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, having me on the show. Yeah, we were kind of just chatting it up, and I apologize for that, but really excited to be here. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to violate my first tenet of my sideline reporting days. You're never supposed to ask this question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. How does it feel to be in a title game?
Feels amazing. I mean, from the regular season to the playoffs, nobody could have written this. I mean, everybody kind of honestly wrote us off from the get-go. I mean, even before the season, we heard a lot of people kind of questioning the roster choices and even, just coaching and people. It wasn't D1, huge name schools with the players we were announcing and the coaches that we were announcing. But I think our front office staff and our ownership group knew some things that a lot of people just weren't really keen on yet. And it showed with our head coach, Mike Pay, just being phenomenal this season, taking these guys and leading them to the national championship. And really a group of guys from Clark University in Dubuque, Iowa, an NAIA school, just absolutely balling out on all of these other kids this summer. I mean, there's one story I've got to tell, and I'm not going to get into names or anything, but one of our kids was about to hit a PK a couple of weeks ago, and he's one of the guys from Clark, NAIA. And I'm on the field, so I hear a lot of things that maybe you don't hear on the live stream or in the stands. And the chirping about NAIA was very prevalent, and I was hearing it. And then our guy just sniped the PK past the goalkeeper. Beautiful shot. It was like justice was served. So, I mean, really, it is an underdog story, but we don't see ourselves as underdogs. I think our players and our coaches have known it from the start. We kind of had to get our swagger about us, and it took some time. But we had a huge first match. Take you back to the first match of the regular season. We're on the road in Des Moines facing the Menace. We get the 1-1 draw. At the time, Des Moines was number 4 in the nation. We weren't even ranked. And the same kid I was just referencing a couple weeks ago hit the PK. That first game, he hit the PK. Only goal of the game for Peoria City. Tied the game in the second half, and we got the draw, got the point on the road. And then if you look at our schedule right after that, we were beating teams 4-0, 6-0, 6-0. We played an exhibition game, won it 10-0. Just this crazy run. And I couldn't have imagined this or guessed this. Nobody could have. And it's been a beautiful thing to see.
You mentioned NAIA talent. And one of the things that has always been a part of our fabric and framework is that talent is talent. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It could come from, it could come from the North Pole. And if North Pole University is an NAIA school and they've got a dude who can ball, doesn't matter where they're chasing that degree. It just doesn't matter. And you could see everyone gravitates to the D1s and things like that and all of the hyped out programs. But NAIA programs, Division threes, junior colleges, the talent is there. You just have to know where to find it. And I think that speaks to the front office there and the coaching staff of finding these guys regardless of where they're hanging their hat.
I totally agree. And I've seen that more this summer than I've ever seen it. And it's helped me come to this realization. And the player I've been referencing a lot, his name's Luke Persenico.
Yes.
He's kind of from the Chicago area. You've probably heard the name now, right? This is a Clark University guy. But I'd really encourage any of your listeners to look up some of the local media in the Peoria area about the last couple of days about Luke's story. And our head coach has been pretty open about it, how before the season, because Mike Pay coaches at Clark, Luke Persenico plays at Clark. And so Mike Pay was calling teams in Chicago, calling Des Moines, calling a team in Aurora and saying, hey, you should check out this guy, Luke. He's a really great player. You should look into taking him. They all passed on him. They denied him. And so when Coach Mike came to Peoria, he said, I'm taking Luke with me to Peoria. Now, Luke has, I think it's 7 goals in 4 games that we've won in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in the run for the Golden Boot in the regular season as well. I mean, really an incredible story. And the guy, I mean, Luke is so humble about it. You know, he's just a good guy. And I love his families at the games every single day that we play. And they're just fantastic as well. And so, you know, really a fantastic story of Luke and his background. Again, kind of another underdog story. And he's been able to silence a lot of the doubters, which you got to love in lower league soccer. So
what has it been like to build Peoria City as a franchise? Because I know that there's a great deal of personal pride that's involved. What has it been like to build this franchise to get it to where it is and accomplishing all these different things?
It's been insanity. Again, I don't think anybody could have ever guessed that we would be here in just 3 years of existence. So we were announced to come into Peoria. I believe it was 2020. We know what happened after that.
Right.
So we didn't even start until 2022. At that point, for myself personally, I was working in TV news. You couldn't really do other side hustles or jobs. So I was a fan in 2022. I was part of the 309, the supporters group. And my wife and I, you know, I remember us going to a game that summer of 2022 and buying a t-shirt and all that fun stuff. So the next year in 2023, you know, in the off season, things kind of went silent for Peoria City. You know, it was a summer team, summer staff. And once the summer was done, the interns went back to college or found another job in the fall. And it went dark, you know, really from whatever mid-July until early, what would that have been, 2023. And again, at the time, it was like January 2023. I was still working in TV news. I was the morning anchor, and we would host Peoria City on the morning show to do.
There you go. There's that crossover that I was looking for.
That's the crossover. And so I reached out to Bobby Parker, our current chief operating officer. And at the time, he was the communications director. And I said, hey, you know, are you guys coming back this season? Would love to have you on the show. If you have any news for me, you know, just let me know. And he said, yeah, you know, we'll have some news for you soon. And maybe, you know, I'll come on the show in February. And so whatever. About 2 more weeks comes by and Bobby calls me on the phone and he says, hey, got any interest in doing communications for Peoria City this summer? And I was like, you know what? I'm actually in the process of leaving my TV news job. In January, I had announced that I was leaving the station in early February to go I do healthcare marketing for a local hospital system full time. That's my full-time job. And so with being able to switch over to that, I now had the flexibility to do, if you want to call it, a side hustle or a passion, right? And so I said, yeah, I'd absolutely like to meet and talk with you. And so we met. I joined as kind of a communications manager, kind of like an assistant. Bobby called me a couple weeks later, said, hey, I've got a ton of stuff going on this summer. You just want to take over communications for the summer? I was like, yes, I do. You know, sounds good. And so, yeah, again, kind of just jumped into it head first last year, preparing, very grassroots, very small. But, really we had a 63% growth in attendance last year. And, just we're doing a lot of other things, at a professional level, like getting our jerseys updated and our social media presence, just all these different things. So leading us to today, though, now we've got 2 full-time staff members and our president, Jim DeRose, Bobby Parker as our COO. I'm here, if you want to call me part-time. It's kind of
You've got 2 lives, Matt. Go ahead and face it.
Yeah. It's pretty busy, especially weekends. Games are on the weekends and stuff. And I've traveled to almost every away game, and that's just how it is for Jim, Bobby, and I. It's a busy time in the summer. So, but they do fantastic work. Our managing partner, John Dorn, former Chicago Fire. He's owned a couple of franchises. He's been able to talk with him a lot lately and learn more about the history. And I don't want to botch anything, so maybe I'd leave that conversation to him. But it's just been fantastic. And so, in short, just from going to where we were in 2022 to where we are now, like it's unbelievable.
Matt Sheehan, the VP at Peoria City, hanging out with us here, batting leadoff on the morning show, and they're in a title game against Seacoast. For those that may not be familiar, what does soccer mean to Peoria and the surrounding areas there in Illinois?
I think it's growing so much, but I think it's always been here. I've lived in Peoria for now 6 years, so I knew about it a little bit back in my TV news days. So I did sports somewhat often, more so when I started, kind of doing photography, videography, but you know what I mean?
Yep.
And fill-in anchoring on the weekends. And I remember a really cool story. I think it would have been like November of 2018, right after I'd graduated college in May. And then I had been working as a TV reporter at the local CBS affiliate. And one of our local high schools, Peoria Notre Dame, was playing in a state semifinal game up in the Chicagoland area. And so they sent me up there. We get up there, and it was a beautiful game. It was snowing. It was cold. All of my batteries died, but I got everything. They lasted to the last second, but all my batteries died. So I whipped out my cell phone because it went into PKs, and the goalkeeper stopped multiple shots. He scored his own. They had him shoot, and he was the backup goalkeeper for the season. The star goalkeeper had a shoulder injury, and so the backup came in, and so it was this beautiful game. They won it, and that was my first taste of Central Illinois soccer culture. Just learning about the powerhouse that is Peoria Notre Dame. And there's more schools around the area. Peoria Christian comes to mind as well. They both go to state pretty often and do a fantastic job. And there's things like Peoria FC United, Morton United, Central Illinois United. And I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, right? And so I'm all familiar with Scott Gallagher and Lou Fuse and all these other nationally recognized programs. And Peoria's got them too, and I think that it's growing. I think the fact that Peoria City is here, kind of ups the ante a little bit, kind of increases the professionalism. It makes these kids want to play for Peoria City and at a pre-professional and professional level. We launched a U23 training program, and so a lot of these kids that are at Central Illinois United or Peoria FC United are getting a chance to train with the Peoria City guys in USL League Two and getting some reps. And that's been a huge success too. And I think, looking at that, hopefully we are able to grow that as the years go on. But yeah, I think you're really seeing a boom right now in the Peoria City soccer scene.
What about fan support? I know that there are some places in lower divisions that they'll have 25, 50, 75, 100 folks. In doing my research and following along with Peoria City and all of the big matchups that you guys have had in this postseason run, fan support has been off the charts. What's the fan support been like for someone who's been there in the trenches with all of this?
It's been crazy. Yeah, it is amazing. And I'm glad that you're able to see that maybe from the social media post and the digital engagement that we're really pushing, because we want to show people around the area and around the nation what's going on here in Peoria, Illinois. And there's a reason that USL League Two has chosen Peoria to host the playoffs 3 weekends in a row now. We hosted the first 2 weekends, the different pods, and then we were chosen again to host this upcoming weekend, Saturday night at Shea Stadium. And you ask about kind of fan engagement. Yeah, the first season, 2022, honestly, really great success. We were averaging over 700 people a game for a first-year team. That's pretty darn good. That second year, we kind of, like I said, we hit social media really hard. We hit the local media. We were on radio and TV all the time, really driving that digital engagement, pushing, ticket sales and a family-friendly atmosphere. And that's what we provide even, to this day. And we want to provide that for years to come. And like I said, in 2023, we saw a 63% jump in fan attendance. We were almost 1,200 people a game. And I believe the last game of the season in 2023, we had over 2,000 people. It was just unbelievable. So then you get to this season and we're kind of, riding that wave of really a lot of excitement, a lot of fan attendance, engagement. We had more engagement in the off season. They kind of kept me in the off season. I was pretty busy in this off season, which was not the case in 2022 for the team. And so we were going to events. We were hosting socials, watch parties for different international teams. I was working with O'Neill's in Ireland, to get this jersey worked out. We made an international partnership with the team in Germany, Peoria, Illinois, sister city of Friedrichshafen. We're doing a lot of things to garner support ahead of the 2024 season. And so I think on average, we're seeing about 1,700 fans a game this season. We've had a couple of crowds that were over the 2,000 number for sure. First game of the season. I believe it was one of our last playoffs games was over 2,000 people. We hosted Chivas de Guadalajara, the U23 team for them, Tapatio. Mm-hmm. And we had 2,750 for one game and over 2,600 for the second game. We played them twice. And so fantastic fan support. We have an amazing supporters group, the 309. They're so passionate. They bring the drums, the horns. There's a trumpet, which is just fantastic. There's guys wearing fish heads on top of their heads. I mean, it's amazing. You kind of got to be there to see it and to hear it and feel it. You can see it on the TV. You can see it on social media, but being there, it's another world. So
fish heads?
Fish hats, yeah, on your head. It's like a little fish, kind of like a fish hat. Because I probably should tell you, our unofficial mascot's the flying carp.
Ah, thank you. Okay.
So in the Illinois River, you've got these flying carp that are the invasive species, and you're boating and they're flying and you're dodging them left and right. So that was kind of a coined term back in 2022, and it's really stuck. And yeah, I mean, we've got one of our logos is a flying carp. We don't use it a lot, but you'll see it on some of our shirts. And yeah, there are people that have found fish hats that they've put on their heads for games. I mean, it's incredible.
Your run through the playoffs has been up against a lot of great football towns as well. And I mean, if you go back in your bracket, it was Flint City. Flint City has done really well there in an economically challenged part of the country. Then before that, it was Des Moines, and you know all about Des Moines and what they've done with the Menace there in League Two. And then before that, it's Thunder Bay with what they're doing north of the border. It's fun for me this time of year where I can sit here and, look at the right-hand side of the bracket. I know all about Asheville and what Asheville City's been able to do. And then you look at what FC Tucson has been able to do after they dropped from League One down to League Two. It's a lot of great soccer towns, a lot of great football towns that are making these impacts of these 2,000 plus attendances and things like that. I just think that that's one of the cool factors of USL League Two, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. You mentioned the three teams, Thunder Bay, Des Moines, and Flint City. Combined in those three teams are 7 USL League Two championships. So in this playoffs run, we've been able to defeat 7 championships worth of teams, which is crazy. And, we had a good game against FC Tucson, right? Very talented team. We had a thrilling, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall, but I was busy attending other duties. During halftime, our head coach, Mike Pay, really getting the guys back to where they needed to be, getting their heads right, because after the first half, it was 0-0. And it was not a good half. Our players would have told you that. They said in multiple interviews, we just did not play very well in that first half. And it's good that we weren't losing, that we didn't let up any goals. We have a phenomenal goalkeeper. I haven't talked about Sammy Slimmy from Paris, France. He plays at Campbell University. This guy we call him Super Sammy Slimmy because he's that good. In the regular season, he didn't let up one PK. He blocked every single PK that he faced. And then we faced PKs against Des Moines in the playoffs, and we won 4-2 in PKs. He blocked it. He blocked it in what was the greatest, a 5-5 game after 120 minutes.
Crazy.
Still going. So that guy, he's an animal. He's phenomenal. I can't wait to see where he goes in his professional career. I believe the world in him, the community is so behind him. And it's the same with Luke Persenico, and a lot of our guys. You could kind of go down the list and just say, man, these guys are super talented, but they're humble. They're good people. They're involved in our community, and it's just amazing. So, but going back to teams like Des Moines, we didn't get to the playoffs without having 2 draws against Des Moines in the regular season. That 1-1 game, first game of the year, and then our last home game of the season, a 2-2 draw. We wish we would have won that, because then we would have been Heartland Division champions. We would have had, I think, 1 more point than them if we would have won. But we were down 2 points at the end of the season to Des Moines, and so they were the Heartland champions for 2024. And they had a phenomenal season. They're great. Their fan support up in Des Moines is very strong, and it's been cool to see the 309 and the society up in Des Moines kind of collaborate and hang out at tailgates. I said it earlier on in the season, but I think the Heartland Division is one of, if not the best divisions in USL League Two. And this year, with what Des Moines had done and with what Peoria City had done, and then you've got teams like River Light and St. Charles that had phenomenal seasons too. You can't sneeze at the Heartland Division. We're definitely here, and we're here to stay.
And River Light being a new club on their own, making immediate impacts here in USL League Two. Cut the promo for me and let me know what the weekend's going to be like getting ready for a title game.
I really appreciate that. It's been great to be on with you today. So our title game, the national championship for USL League Two, is Saturday, August 3rd. It's at a 7:30 p.m. Central Time. I know a lot of your viewers are probably in Eastern Time, so 8:30 your guys' time, but 7:30 our time local. Shea Stadium in Peoria, Illinois. It's on the campus of Bradley University. So our tailgate lot, we always open it up at 4:30. We've got food trucks. We've got a juice tent coming. So we've got 3 different food and drink vendors that are coming on site to serve our fans. We've got a lot of great things going on. The stadium gates, I think we're going to open them up again 6:30. We always open about an hour ahead of game time. Kickoff's right about 7:30. The broadcast will be on the Peoria City Soccer YouTube channel. Would highly recommend checking that out, subscribing, letting us know how you like the broadcast from our guys at Clutch Sports Media. That's our official broadcast partner. It'll also be on Sports Engine Play, which is the official broadcast partner of USL League Two.
Peoria City hosting Seacoast United Phantoms USL League Two final, 7:30 Central Time kick on the weekend. Matt, thanks for dropping by this morning. Thanks for dropping all the knowledge about everything going on there in Peoria City. Have a fantastic week in preps. May the weather cooperate and have it not be as chaotic as it was in a previous round that led to a 10-goal thriller, which led to PKs and led to just general chaos and all of that stuff. Have a fantastic time hosting. Thanks for dropping by. Go get some breakfast. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me on.
That's Matt Sheehan. Matt's a good dude. Matt literally, some background. When Peoria City won, I literally, it's like, okay, it's a title game. I've got to try and grab folks. And this was like this is on a weekend. They win. I send an email to Matt. Matt, like 5 minutes later, answers. He's like, yeah, I'm coming on. Let me know what's going on. Literally, that's the way it was. So Matt wasted no time and answered his email on a weekend. So major props for that. And they're going to be hosting the USL League Two final. So very, very cool stuff all across the board. And I can't thank Matt for answering his email on a weekend, A. And then B, giving us the education there in Peoria City. And as you guys know, it's all about rising tide lifts all boats. And what I like to do here when we have the opportunity, and what we all like to do here at the network, is when we can tell you a good story and let you know what's going on outside of our footprint a little bit, we're going to dive in. And it's an opportunity to do that. And so Matt answered the bat phone or the bat email or whatever you want to call it. And he's a great education this morning about everything going on as Peoria is hosting the USL League Two final. We've reached out to Seacoast United Phantoms. We'll see if we can grab them as well when it comes to everything involving the USL League Two final. Remainder of the week, since we're discussing traffic, we'll go ahead and discuss traffic. All right, today, for those of you that have a separate TV device, whatever is going on, you saw the release about Five Stripes Don't Stop. We'll talk about Atlanta United signing international roster spot yesterday. Gee, I wonder what that could be leading to. Tomorrow, once again, Tyler's joining us at 9:15. We'll see if we can get the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler, joining us at 10. Then we'll get you ready for Chelsea and Club America at MBS. Keep an eye out on all the Soccer Down Here platforms and all the SDH Network platforms about game stories, what to watch, highlights, pictures, that kind of a thing. Thursday is stacked. Thursday, it is FC Naples joining us at 9:30. The new folks in USL League One joining us, and they get since they now have a coach and a technical director. Then that's why they get to join us, and we get to find out about their evolution as to what's going on. So FC Naples joining us at 9:30 before Nino and Nico at 10 and 10:30. And then Friday, assuming that our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring can drop by, I think it's Michael Parker's turn. We can talk about Rhode Island FC. 10 o'clock, our friends from FC Motown joining us, one half of the NPSL final, tracking down our friends from El Farolito as well, so they can let everybody know what's going on involving their chase to a championship. So Peoria City was this morning, Tyler and Dylan tomorrow, FC Naples, Nino and Nico on Thursday, Beyond Goals Mentoring, FC Motown, still chasing after guests and stuff. Abby, public service announcement. Dax McCarty is at the Chick-fil-A Marietta East Lake from 3:30 to 4:30. Hope he went hungry. So the note from our friends at Atlanta United, when they posted on social media this morning, it was same stripes and different look. Well, let me see how it was phrased here. Same stripes, different colors. Okay. So same stripes, different colors. Five Stripes Don't Stop. And so Ricky, Atalanta stripes to Atlanta stripes, and the discussion was going as we have. Morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. Morning, Unk. And I'm glad that the wildfires are behaving, at least where you are concerned. Let's see. Morning, Jordan. And Jordan, big Liverpool fan, he'll drop in occasionally and let us know what's going on. Let's see. Morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. And let's see. Morning, Ricky. And so then the public service announcement with Dax later today at Chick-fil-A. So that's where we are. Yesterday, and we'll carry through the the actual notation here. And you end up with Atlanta United making a move to set up a move. And so yesterday, Atlanta United acquired international roster spot. 2024 international roster spot from Seattle in exchange for $100,000 in 2025 GAM. So literally that's it. Hey, you've got a free international roster spot. Hey, you want some GAM? That's how it happened. So literally before whatever deal in the Five Stripes Don't Stop category is coming later this morning, probably, possibly, perhaps, because you don't post the video and then sit there and let everybody wait. My guess is it'll probably happen about 11:05. But you've got international roster spot. We've had a lot of discussions, and the thought is that it could be Alexei Miranchuk. So we'll see. And that's where we are. Pars found the puppy a perfect forever home. Excellent. Nice. Well done. Abby with once again the public service announcement for the location of said Chick-fil-A. Morning Ropes, good to see you. And so, yeah, they always do announce when we're off the air. They never want to do something while we're on the air, you know? Just a little cooperation. Just a little cooperation. That's all I want. During the show would be nice. Just once. I don't think I'm asking for much. So, yeah. So Atlanta picked up international roster spot, and so we'll see what happens. Although with all of the rumors and discussions and rumors that have been happening, that yeah, well, I know, and that's at Pars. That's what I tried to do. I tried to announce it as a transfer instead of adding the word "an." It's like Atlanta United picks up international roster spot. Make it more of a headline. Make it sound like an actual individual. So that's what we always try to do. So that's where we are. Yesterday, picking up international roster spot. Does that magically transform into another individual? I would imagine so, with Five Stripes Don't Stop appearing on the social medias this morning before the show started. So we'll keep an eye out on that this morning. So that is probably the news that we are lying in wait for this morning. And we'll keep an eye out for that. And if it gets to be a point where you get to blow the trumpet and you get to sit there and go, hey, make an announcement during the show, obviously we'll talk about it, and then we'll go down the line and discuss everything involving the Five Stripes Don't Stop player that gets announced, shall we say, and when that does in fact happen. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Also, we've got news this morning involving Canada. We've got news involving the lower divisions. We've got news involving the Olympic men's tournament. And for those of you that have the multi-screen experience going on, it's a tough first half involving New Zealand and Team USA in women's rugby. 7-5, under 30 seconds to go in the first, and it looks like one of the Kiwis is injured in a collision, shockingly, in a collision with Alona Mar. So we'll see what happens with the U.S. and rugby. All right, so since I just mentioned what's going on with the five-ring circus, right now it is the last day of group play. 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Each group gets their own time slot. Right now, Spain, Egypt, Dominican Republic, and Uzbekistan, they are all goalless. That is Group C. Group C is batting leadoff here. Spain came in winning their first two. They're at 6 points. Egypt is 1-0-1 or 1-1-0, depending on where you put your draws and your losses. 4 points for Egypt, 1 point for the Dominican Republic, who hung tough with Spain out of the blocks. And then Uzbekistan has lost both of their matches. Now, with the two teams at the top, positions 1 and 2 playing each other, and the two teams number 3 and number 4, here's how that's laying out. Spain, obviously, in the driver's seat. But if the Dominican Republic can beat Uzbekistan, that gets them to 4 points. Then they have to look at goal difference and figure out who gets to be the second team to advance out of the group and into the knockouts. You would understand if Egypt wants to play this about as close and boring to the best as possible just to get a point and get out of town. Biggest thing is in this group, Egypt, if they want to get into the knockouts, they cannot lose this match. Because then that sets things up for goal difference, and that's not fun. So Dominican Republic needs a win. They need Spain to help them out. Spain needs a win. If you're the Dominican Republic, you need Spain to win, and you need some margin of victory. Obviously, the DR's got to do their thing, and they've got to beat Uzbekistan, and if they can put up a number, so be it. Egypt on the board with a goal. That does not help out. That's in the 40th minute. So Egypt right now live scoring. They would be winning the group, and that would knock out the Dominican Republic. So keep an eye out for that. That's at 9 o'clock. That's the 9 o'clock starts. The rest of the board, when it comes to the schedule for today, 11 o'clock, Ukraine, Argentina, Morocco, and Iraq. Ukraine, Argentina, Group B, Morocco, and Iraq. This is the group of chaos because it is so dead even. Everybody has a win and a loss, and you are within 2 goals, top to bottom, of either being in or not being in. Argentina, Ukraine, Morocco, and Iraq. I mean, literally for Ukraine and Morocco right now, you're down to like the 98th tiebreaker. Same record, same goals allowed. You're looking at like yellow card accumulation and sportsmanship to figure out right now going into the day what it's going to look like. Argentina's at +1 in goal difference. Iraq is at -1. Those are your extremes right now. Everybody has 3 points. You're separated by 2 goals top to bottom in Group B. That's 11 o'clock starts. Once again, that's when we're off the air. So keep an eye out for that. The 1 o'clock starts include the USA and Guinea and New Zealand and France. France. So if you look at the table involving USA, Guinea, New Zealand, and France, that is Group A. And right now, France has 2 wins in the group. And New Zealand and the U.S. each have 1 win in the group. Guinea has not won a match so far. France right now at 6 points. France is at 6 points. USA and New Zealand are each at 3 with a win and a loss. The U.S. has better goal difference right now than New Zealand. 4 goals scored, 4 allowed. They're dead even on goal difference. That's why they're ahead of New Zealand. And Guinea has lost both of their matches. They're at -2. So we'll see what happens in Group A. Group A is the 1 o'clock starts. And it looks like New Zealand has scored against the United States, barely crossing the line. So the Kiwis have scored, and it is now 12-5 in the second. In the first semifinal, 5-10 and counting. So U.S. has some work to do. The 3 o'clocks in the men's soccer tournament. Like I said, we can do play-by-play, but we really can't. It's Israel, Japan, Mali, and Paraguay. And like I said, these are all across all the networks. Traditionally, and I'll ask this too, Israel, Japan, Paraguay, and Mali. That's Group D. And right now, Japan has 6 points. They've won both matches. Paraguay has 3 points. Mali and Israel each have 1 point for a draw. And they have Mali right now -1 in goal difference, Israel at -2. So basically, Mali and Israel, they would need to win against their opponents and then figure out what they are going to do with math from that point. The viewing parties, Telemundo and Peacock has Spain and Egypt. Peacock has the DR and Uzbekistan. Telemundo, Peacock, Ukraine and Argentina. Peacock has Morocco and Iraq. Telemundo and Peacock has USA and Guinea. Peacock has New Zealand, France, Israel, Japan, and Telemundo and Peacock has Paraguay and Mali. So that's what you're staring at from the Olympic soccer perspective right now as you head into the final. You're in the final match days of the knockouts. So we'll see we'll see what's going on as it continues to grow and evolve, and it looks like, what, do we have another New Zealand score? Nope, still 12-5. Okay. 12-5 in a U.S. turnover. And so it looks like taking full advantage, and New Zealand, did they score or are they just short? I think they're just short. So it looks like New Zealand up 17-5, and it looks like they might be putting the pedal down here late in the second against the U.S. The U.S. looks like they're heading to the bronze medal match in rugby up against the other competition. But New Zealand right now up big, and time running out in the second. So anyway, that's the Olympic tournament, and we'll keep an eye on that all day long. Once again, the U.S. with the opportunity to get into the knockout stage. But they've been taking care of business so far, and have the opportunity once again to, after the win against New Zealand, winning 4-1 in Marseille at the Velodrome, had the same starting lineup, Marko Mitrovic. We'll see if he continues to just roll with what he's got to get through group. Penalty kick on a trip from Nathan Harriel converted Georgi Mihailovic in the 8th minute. Walker Zimmerman in the 12th. Half-hour mark, Gianluca Busio, after he was fed in the middle by John Tolkien and Kevin Paredes. And so that's what you got up early and you stayed on them. So the lineup against New Zealand and Marseille: Schulte in net, Harriel, Zimmerman, Robinson, and Tolkien. Busio, Tessman, Mihailovic, Aronson, McGuire, and Paredes. In the substitutes, you had Benja Kremoski come on, play 20 minutes. McGlynn came on in the 37th for Busio. Obviously, we have to keep an eye on Gianluca Busio. Does he sit for this final match of the group stage? Dietz came on in the 56th for Georgi Mihailovic. Griffin Yao came on in the 57th. And then Booth came on with 20 minutes to go for Kevin Paredes. So yellow card, Tanner Tessman. And then shots on the day, since we really haven't had the chance to really look at the U.S. here in this tournament. Shots for the U.S., 19-9. Shots on target, 7-4. 3 saves each side. 8 corners for the U.S. in the match against New Zealand compared to 3. 21 fouls, about dead even. New Zealand had 11 of the 21. Offside, 2 offside for the U.S., 1 for New Zealand. Possession, 52-48 New Zealand in the match. And so, obviously get your afternoon squared away where you can watch everything that you need to watch when it comes to the Olympic tournament, just to give you an idea as to the rest of the day. Club-friendly Manchester City and Barcelona tonight at 7 o'clock on the Deuce. Pep Guardiola has said he is not against signing a contract extension for Manchester City. What that entails, is, could be up for debate and whatever, because it could be completely and totally one of those ideas where Pep signs a personal services contract. And that personal services contract can detail anything within City Football Group. Hey, I like New York City. He says he's closer to leaving than staying, but he didn't say he's leaving. So out of contract next summer. And he hinted, according to James Ducker at the Telegraph, that this might be his last at the Etihad. But Guardiola insists he has not made a final decision on his future and that he could yet sign a new deal, but first wants to see how City start the new season and whether his players retain the same appetite. Now, same appetite as he or same appetite as themselves in years past? That would be my first question. I know I'm kind of splitting hairs on the idea, but it's okay. So if you're Pep Guardiola, you have a certain desire. You have a certain, you've got a certain drive inside you. Are you wanting the players to match your drive or their own drive in wanting to continue to chase after titles and titles and titles? That to me is the big question in all of this is who are you chasing? Which shadows are you chasing? Are you chasing your own, or are you letting the players chasing the city's own shadow? I guess is my biggest question. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. It looks like the U.S. is breaking off for a long score. It was a quick turnover, and Kirsch scores to make it 24-10, and we are in looks like we're in added time in the second, so we're at 24-10. Obviously, New Zealand is going to be making it to the final for the gold medal match, and the U.S. will be playing for bronze. So Guardiola says, I'm not being here for 8 more years, so that's why he said he's closer to leaving than staying. But I didn't say I'm leaving. And this is a head of City's friendly against AC Milan at Yankee Stadium in New York on Saturday night. Quote, when I'm leaving, I'll say I'm leaving. But I didn't say it. So that was my approach. Maybe I was not correct to say that, but that was my feeling at the time. So he spoke with the club and said, it's a lot of years. We'll see what happens. But I will not rule it out, absolutely, to extend the contract. I would love to stay because I would love to stay. So that's why I don't want it to happen. I don't want to deny my feelings. I want to see my players. 9 years today in the same club is an eternity. That, sir, is absolutely correct. 9 years with a club is an absolute eternity. So the question is, frankly, when is enough enough? I don't think the message is getting stale. I mean, that's why I think that you have all of the players that you have that are a part of what we're seeing with Manchester City. They dig it. And if they don't, then they're not going to be around. Guardiola says, I just want to be sure it's the right decision, not just for me, but for the club. That it's the right decision for the players, that still they run like they already ran for 8 years. It doesn't matter the competition. It doesn't matter the tournament. This is what I have to see, and that's all. But I'm pretty sure I will not stay 8 more years because I think it's good to refresh the players and the manager. But at the same time, we had success, still winning Premier Leagues, still arriving in the last stages. So that's where Pep Guardiola is in all of this. That is where Pep Guardiola is in all of this discussion. I'm looking at Argentina sources and I'm looking at things, and we'll see how closer it gets, how much closer it gets. Something called Vermouth Deportivo. I've never heard of it. 15,300 followers on the 280 character app. And so, just because of what we've been seeing this morning, Vermouth Deportivo. It's an Argentina paper. Is saying that Atlanta United paid 12 million euro for Miranchuk, who'd been bought by Atalanta from Lokomotiv Moscow for a slightly higher sum. The truth is that despite playing 42 matches last season, the midfielder felt it was time for a change of scenery. So he's decided to continue his career in a growing football scene like that of the United States. Thus, he signed a contract until December of 2028 with Atalanta. With Atlanta, sorry. So, and our buddy Alfredo Padula, the inside scoop, Miranchuk to Atlanta, it's done. The details. Alexei Miranchuk will be a new Atlanta player. A few minutes ago, according to our friend Alfredo Padula, and we started catching up with Padula from his 369,000 followers on the 280 character app. from his time with TV dello Sport. So, Padula, a few minutes ago, the documents were exchanged. The announcement is coming, a negotiation that was already at an advanced stage 12 days ago. The attacking midfielder born in 1995 leaves Atalanta for a new experience, an operation that closed for about $15 million with the definitive approval of Percassi's club. 12 to 13 bonus. And so right now you got a lot of folks, including our buddy Padula, who are saying it's done. Miranchuk skipped the friendly. He wants to reflect on Atlanta in pressing, and this was back on the 18th. So Padula started reporting on this back as far back as the 18th. So Padula reports that it's done. 15 million, I imagine that's euro. And so a lot of reports. Alessandro Peroni. It is a unified. It is a unified front from a bunch of different folks. So it is 12 million euro to, in the transfer. You're getting a bunch of numbers, and so finally signed, yes, no, maybe, perhaps, probably getting closer than one would anticipate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to hit refresh on all of my emails, and I'm sure that you guys will be more than happy to sit there and beat me to it because of your social media and your fingers being faster than I have. So, oh yeah, Rich, you mean to tell me that Atalanta and Atlanta haven't thought about doing some sort of connection? Yeah. Thank you, Abby, and thank you, Dave. Thank you, David. Thank you, Tom, for the affiliate anniversary. I know, that's wild, isn't it? Yeah, we'll thank you, Alex. I'm getting confused with all of my notes when it comes to, is it 12 to 13 million dollars? Is it 15 million euro? Those kinds of things. Because some folks will sit there in their European reports and they will report 12 to 13 million, but depending on where you are in the EU, you may still use pounds, you might use euros. So, who in the wide world of sports knows? I am just as confused as the next guy. But we've kind of been looking at it for, somewhere in the neighborhood of $13 million. And so somewhere in there is the number that we will continue to work on and work around with the possible transfer of Alexei Miranchuk from Atalanta to Atlanta. Southampton have confirmed Ben Brereton Diaz as a signing. So we'll see what all of this other news. Wesley Frimpong has joined Lusk. Let's see. And like I said, so we'll keep an eye out, and I know that you guys will beat me to it. But right now, Five Stripes Don't Stop appeared on the 280-character app. Stripe setting is in one location. Different stripes, different colors. So we can kind of put one and one together and come up with something more than 11. But there are reports overseas, and there are reports in South America that this is a done deal. Alexei Miranchuk from Atalanta to Atlanta, and that was part and parcel after Atlanta United picked up international roster spot in a $100,000 GAM transaction, $100,000 in 2025 GAM. So you pick up the international roster spot, and then you get to announce the signing. So 2024 international roster spot yesterday from Seattle in exchange for $100,000 in 2025 GAM. And so that means that your roster of 25 includes international roster spot. Cohen, Gazan, Westberg, Abram, Amador, Cobb, Edwards, Gregerson, Hernandez, Brooks Lennon, Efren Morales, Derek Williams, Firmino, Fortune, Saba, And for those that follow Saba on social media, you got to see him hang out with new daughter Alessia, Dax, Mosqueda, Muyumba, Sleesh, Torres, Wolf, Brennan, Rios, Shande, and TRA. So that's where the roster is right now. So with Atlanta United being a part of this, like I said, we'll keep an eye on it. Official. And I'm going to go ahead and hit it because it's front page news. It is front page news. And so we'll go ahead and 9:55. I thought it would be like 9:55. But as it turns out, front page. Here comes Alexei Miranchuk. Slavyansk on Kuban, Russia from Atalanta. The history with Miranchuk at Atalanta, Torino, Atalanta, 7 years at Lokomotiv Moscow. Euros in 2020, FIFA World Cup in 2018, Europa League 23-24, Russian Premier League 17-18, Russian Cup 3 seasons, Russian Super Cup in 2019. Miranchuk signed through the 27 season with an option for 28. Miranchuk will occupy a designated player and international roster spot pending the receipt of his ITC and his P1 visa. Quote from Carlos, we're excited to sign a player of Alexei's quality at this point. Atlanta United's my source, Alex. I'm reading from the website. Excited to sign a player of Alexei's quality. Don't make me laugh. At this point in his career from a top league in Europe, an attacking player who's an excellent chance creator capable of scoring goals. Over the last 4 years, he's been a consistent player in Serie A. We'll go over the stats in a bit. And has made more than 40 combined appearances in UEFA Champions League and Europa League while helping Atalanta win the Europa League title in 23-24. Pleased to add a player with his experience and winning mentality to our group. We look forward to welcoming him to Atlanta. 28-year-old attacking midfielder joins after making 370 combined appearances for Lokomotiv Moscow, Atalanta, and Torino. 63 goals, 70 assists across all comps. 100 appearances over 4 years with Atalanta and Torino. 6 titles, Europa League, 15 Champions League appearances, 28 Europa League appearances since 2015-2016. Youth systems at Olymp Slavyansk Nakabani and Spartak Moscow before joining Lokomotiv, joining their academy, 11 matches for Lokomotiv 2 during 12-13 before making his Premier League debut 2013. 43 goals, 45 assists, 227 first-team appearances, 3 Russian Cups, Premier Liga, and a Super Cup. Transferred to Atalanta September 2020. 13 goals, 19 assists, 98 appearances across all comps. 31 appearances in all comps first season in Italy. 7 goals, 2 assists, and as Atalanta finished third in Serie A. Midfielder spent 22-23 on loan at Torino, 31 appearances, 4 goals, 6 assists. Returned to Atalanta, 42 appearances last season, all comps. 4 goals, 12 assists, 10 appearances, 4 assists to help them win the Europa League title. And nothing like getting a bot while you're trying to break news. We're blocking people that allegedly want to give you followers, of which I am not interested. Not interested, Kitos. I need to report you. It's like you're trying to read a breaker, and then all of a sudden people want to bot you. 3 goals, 6 assists, 27 Serie A matches. Atalanta finished 4th, qualified for Champions League. 28-year-old, once again, pending the receipt of his ITC and his P1 visa, Alexei Miranchuk is now in-house. Officially official. 5 stripes don't stop. We're going to go to Transfermarkt. We're going to check all of the particulars with Alexei Miranchuk. Hey, Transfermarkt ain't wasting no time either. They've got him listed as Atlanta United. Absolutely wasting no time. Way to go. Attacking midfielder, majority of his time, has been seen as a center forward and a right winger. So that's where we are. I'm going to try to find the breakdown of where he has been most of his time, but he's been an attacking midfielder most of the time. Attacking midfielder, 230 matches. And so he's been basically where he's been asked to be. Attacking midfield, right wing, center forward. Those are your top three in his appearances. He's even spent time as a second striker, central midfielder, left winger, left and right midfield. So basically, wherever you need me in the breakdown of his positional statistic. All right, looking at positional numbers. Attacking midfielder, 230 matches, 33 goals, 45 assists. Right wing, that's kind of taken care of right now. 59 matches, 11 and 12. Center forward, 40 matches, 8 and 8. Second striker, 14 matches, 4 and 3. And then he scored once as a central midfielder, 2 in the right midfield. So that's where we are with Alexei Miranchuk. That's the statistical breakdown. Atalanta to Atlanta. Alexei Miranchuk now in-house. And they have photographs and everything involving Alexei Miranchuk on the Atlanta United webpage. So there you go with Alexei Miranchuk now in-house for Atlanta United. And so you're looking with the idea of Miranchuk being in-house, then you're waiting for the ITC, the International Transfer Certificate, and the P1 visa. Don't know how long that's going to take. Do not know how long that's going to take. But legitimately, I mean, if you're thinking about it, I think the biggest thing to look at here is, I mean, realistically, have him ready to go by the LA Galaxy match. I think that's the biggest thing. Have him ready for the road trip out west. So we'll see what it looks like there with Miranchuk now in-house. And thank you, Alex, for dollars to donuts. Yes, Alex, let's not speculate. Could be a player from any team that wears black and blue stripes and won the Europa League. Absolutely. Michael says he hopes the early reports he didn't want to come here are not true. I would chalk up a lot of that to the agent more than anything else. That's what I'm staring at. And I look at agent speak as a part of a lot of these negotiations. Well, I mean, I'm looking at Alex is asking, you really think the paperwork would come through that quickly? I mean, you look at things in the past, and there will be billable hours, there will be lawyers involved, and there will be state departments that are involved. Atlanta has shown in the past when it comes to having international situations to deal with that they've done fairly well. I'm looking at the LA Galaxy match as my marker and getting him, getting Miranchuk integrated. Like I said, that's my own personal marker. I don't know. Hey, look, if things work faster, they work faster. If they don't, then we'll obviously be kind of kept up to date in all of that. So, like I said, my own personal marker is the 24th of August. But I would also think that if you were confident that a deal was going to be done, you would be working already with the appropriate powers that are in trying to get something done. Hey, just to give you a heads up, we got a guy, and we're thinking that he's probably coming this way. What do we need to do to get a professional athlete who plays in Europe to make sure that everything is cool with his transfer certificate and his P1 visa to get him to come to this part of the planet? Like I said, Atlanta United's been down this road before. So I would think that they know pipelines, they know the ways to go about things, they know, all right, so if A, then B, and having done this in the past and bringing folks over from Europe to come play here in Atlanta, that it is one of those ideas of, we've done this before, we know who to talk to, we know who's on speed dial, we know what we can line up and go from there. So that's my gut. Like I said, my gut just comes from previous evidence. You've done this before. You brought folks over from Europe. You've had negotiations in the past. How do you make it ride? I think you know the phone calls to make. I think you know the folks to talk to. And I think that you probably also have a lot of folks who can sit there and lock this all down and go, all right, you talk to this person, you call them, these are the hours. If we got to fly over, we got to fly over. We've got to do this. There's like a checklist. And since they've done this before, I would think that they probably started a lot of the road work. And then with the signing, and I also don't think that you would announce a signing if you weren't well down this road anyway. That it's like, yes, we've agreed to a transfer. You ain't sending money if you're not confident that you're working on the right paths and making sure that you're getting everything locked in place for the ITC and the P1 visa. But like I said, since you've done this before with bringing in players from around the planet and you brought in folks from Europe, I think that the ideas are there, and the phone calls and all of the check marks in the checklist, all the boxes are there, and you're sitting there. It's like, okay, this guy, this person, this person, this person, call them during these hours, send them this paperwork, and there you go. So that's my thought, is that you've been down this road before, you know what boxes you need to check, and so you're working the same things that you've done in the past. And when it comes to P1 visas, Atlanta United has shown in the past that they can get things done. So we'll see. And Michael, I don't know. Michael's wondering if getting a visa for a Russian citizen is more complicated given the current situation. I would think that the first step in that, I don't know. But I would imagine that because he's already active and has been active in Europe as an athlete, that would make it easier, if that makes any sense. The fact that he's already gainfully employed and that he's gainfully employed in Europe, I think that that's how you are addressing this. You're not addressing this as, okay, he's a Russian citizen. He is a Russian citizen who is already working in Europe, if that makes any sense. That's how I'm viewing it. The fact that he's already gainfully employed and he's employed in another European country. Yeah, and Will is mentioning Karol Kaprizov in Minnesota, and Karol Kaprizov in Minnesota, and then there's a player for Philadelphia, the Flyers, who recently just signed on as well. So Will mentioning the National Hockey League, and what they might have done, as he says, it doesn't think that that's bad with the National Hockey League doing things with players like Karol Kaprizov. You've got groundwork that has been laid by other leagues. So if you need advice or you need game plans or you need a road to travel down to figure out how to do it, you can call up Bettman and go, yo, Gary, how'd you work this? Or maybe you call the Wild, or maybe you call the Flyers and go, yo, how'd you do this? So when you were navigating, how did you get everything squared away? Oh, it was easy, So maybe it is a couple of conversations, maybe it's a couple of phone calls, and laying it all out for anybody who wants to know in this current landscape. But like I said, I think because of Miranchuk's employment already, that you're getting the examples of how to do it. Will would love it if Atlanta called Bill Garrett in Minnesota, talked it out. My team's combining dreams. It's like Mr. Guerin, Messrs. Bocanegra and Lagerway on line 1 from Atlanta. What? Yes, sir. They needed to run something by you about signing a Russian national. Punch him through. So don't be surprised. I mean, networks of folks that they that they have are very, very deep, very, very deep. And as you go down the release from Atlanta United, there is no mention of any kind of fee. We have been finding those ourselves. So 12 to 13 or 15, depending on which source and which financial base you use with your currency. So 12 to 13 or 15 is what we're staring at. But no, I mean, don't be surprised of calling other folks. The athletic fraternity is a lot smaller than we think. It's like, yeah, I'll call him up. I'll find out what's going on. Yeah, sure. That's great. No problem. So I think that it would not surprise me one bit if you reached out and were trying to figure out, okay, how do we go about this? Transfermarkt had him at 10 million euro. Hang on, efforting. Let's see, Transfermarkt. Don't quote me yet, but I think it was 10. And then agents get involved and so on and so forth. 10. So Miranchuk was valued at 10 million euro. And so that's what you're paying for. So Will in the NHL down here. Yeah, I did see that. They re-upped Brock Faber. Didn't know it was for 8 at 8.5. So good work by the Wild. Let's play hockey. By the way, if you've never been to a Wild game, meaning Minnesota, Wild, Minnesota, not just Wild in the sense of, oh my God, there's been 8 goals scored. If you've never been to Minnesota to a Minnesota Wild game, I would recommend it just for the pregame because of the state of hockey being what it is. Sidebar. Absolutely, I would go and have that on as a part of any bucket list that's available. And even if you've never been, go to the state high school hockey tournament in Minnesota. Go to the state high school hockey tournament in Minnesota. That is another bucket list item just for the flow that you see from the players themselves. Yes, Michael, it is actually. Michael wanting to know if this was an Auburn cup that I was using. Yes, it absolutely is. Oh, sorry, I was doing another interview on another platform, and I had to flip my Alliance Nurse Corps sheet around. So yeah, it is an Auburn. It is an Auburn Cup, and it usually is here in the office. Let's see. So yes, 10 million and Wild games are fun. Yes, Wild and St. Paul's an experience, and the state tournament is bonkers. Minnesota State Fair is fantastic, and yes, WDE. The boss is back in town from seeing her mom. And we get the WDEs in here this morning. So Lexi Miranchuk is officially official. Like I said, pending the okie doke on the transfer certificate and the P1 visa. like I said, if you rolled him out for the LA Galaxy match, that to me would be the first match probably that because it's past anything Leagues Cup. Get him integrated. Make sure everything is dotted and crossed. So Alexei Miranchuk now in-house for Atlanta United, and it is officially official. David says, is there not an annual Flow YouTube for the high school tournament? An all-Flow team? Absolutely. I've seen it. Will, married into a family of Minnesotans. Wife's uncle sounds like he could be in Fargo, and the wild there is ridiculous. And full disclosure, I have a section of my family that is from the St. Paul area, and it's the Twin Cities, and then up in Ontario and Manitoba. So I have a section of my family tree that's up that way as well. And they were the ones who had the family reunion in Minneapolis in the middle of summer. And I found out the hard way that the mosquito is, in fact, the state bird of Minnesota. Found that out the hard way. Don't recommend in the summertime going outdoors and not wearing long sleeves, especially around dusk, because that's a bad idea. It's a bad mix, people. Do not, in the summer in Minnesota, go out without long sleeves around dusk. Otherwise, you will pay the price. I did. Absolutely did. So, but yeah, I have family up there. I had one of my cousins was a columnist for one of the Minnesota papers. I think it was the St. Paul Trib. So, yeah, I've got family ties up there too. I know. And they were the ones that orchestrated that reunion and the one in Kalispell, Montana. So I know the upper Midwest. Once again, thanks to Matt Skinner for dropping by this morning and breaking down everything with Peoria. That was great. Just heard back from our friends at Seacoast United Phantoms. The head coach is like, I just got this email. Can you please explain what's going on? Sure, I will. I'll be more than happy to. Once this show is over, I will send you an email. Like I said, later this week, hopefully we'll be able to catch up with our friends from El Fatalito. That's probably Friday. And, oh, by the way, on that day of the week, you guys know that as a part of my shtick, I always have that song to sing. And sure enough, I actually heard the rest of the song the other day. And I had forgotten the lyrics to that song. I really had forgotten the rest of that song. So I realized, I've got to find that drop. And so I'm going to add that drop to the rest of the drops that we have here. And, it's been far too long that we haven't had that particular drop that's a part of everything. Jason has done his research on Alexei Miranchuk. Jason's quick thoughts on Miranchuk. High soccer IQ, magnificent technical skills, a habit of showing up big when the lights are their brightest. Excited to see Miranchuk in the red and black stripes. Led Serie A in shot-creating actions per 90 minutes last season. So that's the history lesson quickly from Jason on Alexei Miranchuk. And I know that a lot of folks were looking at Marcelo Gallardo as the possible as someone who could be in talks for Atlanta United's head coaching vacancy. Cesar Luis Merlo has come out this morning saying that Gallardo's return to River is very advanced. Talks between the coach and the board are permanent. Goodwill on both sides close to it. Due to a matter of timing, it is very difficult for me to lead this afternoon's practice. From signing, it would be until December of 2025. So a year-and-a-half deal for Gallardo and River Plate. So he is referring to the talks, meaning Cesar Luis Merlo and Gallardo to River, as very advanced. So it looks like Gallardo could be the new head coach at River Plate. And I know that a lot of folks were sitting there and thinking about having him as a part of the vacancy discussion for Atlanta United. As things stand right now, it looks like he would be leaning in toward more River Plate than he would anyplace else. And I apologize for all the breaks in the action because I still am trying to not cough on the air as much as I did yesterday. And it's always a challenge when you're trying to figure out, okay, I guess this is opening kickoff, an hour and 20 minutes into the show. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code. For those of you who are watching, however you're watching us, whether it's on Twitch, the 200 ND Character app, or on the SDH YouTube channel, live or tape. Don't forget, you click on that QR code, and it takes you to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 when you check out, because then what you can do is let our friends at Kickoff Coffee take 10% of the overall purchase, reinvested into cool stuff, youth initiatives, and stuff that they've earmarked. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And as I sit here and try and disrupt the other QR code, that belongs to our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps. Alliance Nurse Corps, if you are looking for your next nursing job or your first nursing job, over 30 years of experience from our friends at Alliance Nurse Corps, what you do is you hit that QR code, and when they ask how you found out about it, let them know it was Soccer Down Here. Also on the board, it's just out of range. Let me grab it real quick. Abby probably jumped in and grabbed like 9 of these already. Small amount of the SDH new hats. The new network lid. Jason's got a handful. So find a way to reach out to him, and you can add this to your stacks. I think we're thinking about doing the other apparel as we go here. But, yeah, Jason's got a small number of the network lids with the new design. And so reach out to him specifically. I know that Abby did yesterday because she saw this and was like, ooh, as you should. So that's the situation involving apparel and attire. So and sponsors. But no, when you got a summer cold, and it's a pain in the ass. I mean, it is a pain in the ass. You try not to talk. When you talk for a living, you try not to talk. And then when you do talk, you try not to talk like immediately into a situation. You don't like yell at the top of your lungs. Like the first noise that comes out of your mouth doesn't need to be a high-pitched squeal, because it doesn't actually turn into a note, and it actually stops about halfway through. So you don't even get your whole part of excitement out. So the last day and a half have been a bit of an adventure, and it's been intriguing to try and navigate, okay, how can I talk? How well can I talk? Can people understand me? Do I annoy people when I cough into an open microphone because I can't hit the mute button fast enough, like this? That time I did. So literally, it's having liquid close by. It's having Fisherman's Friend close by, which is an awful mix, by the way, because Fisherman's Friend is about as mentholy as it gets. And I just created an adverb, and I don't care. But yeah, cough suppressant lozenges. Yeah, okay, you got most of it suppressed. I'll give you credit. You didn't get all of it. But it's navigating the whole thing, and I know that with a summer cold, you just want to take your nose and pull it off your face and throw it off to the side, and then maybe you'll be able to breathe. But it's been a challenge. I hate summer colds because it slows me down, and I hate slowing down, period. And full disclosure, the Rowdy Man's a little under the weather, and so we're having to keep an eye on him too. So, keeping an eye on him, you need to have your energy. You need to make sure that you're keeping an eye on everybody around you. Summer colds just suck. sucks the life out of you, sucks all the energy out of you, and you have to be up and up and up the entire time. So it's always a challenge. And I apologize ahead of time for everything that has been going on with me over the last little bit because of this damn cold. So yeah, it has been an absolute pain in the ass the entire time. Not a fan. Don't recommend it. And if you can find ways to dodge what's going on, please do. Don't get a summer cold. Don't get a summer cold. We do have some news in lower divisions, and it has to do with the situation at Georgia FC. Get into that coming up in a bit. Jarrett joins us now, and so hopefully he can help me save my voice. It is officially official, Jarrett. Alexei Miranchuk, pending the receipt of the international transfer certificate and the P1 visa in-house.
Yeah, you finally get it across the line. I still think it's kind of weird the way it all happened. That apparently you had to get the international slot ahead of time, because I feel like that's one of those things that a lot of times gets announced bundled together. Maybe this is something the league is making teams do now. I don't know, because traditionally you would announce a deal, and then you would announce, oh, also we sent so and so.
Yeah, it's like you
5-6 figures for a slot.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I think you would have liked to have done it on Monday morning, but here you are, and you've announced it. He is here now.
And so I was saying that my expectation is just have him ready for LAG. You know? Look.
It'd be nice.
I mean, I think Atlanta United has become experts in expediting P1 visas.
Anyone in this league is the only I think you can be an expert, but the State Department is still the State Department.
Yes, that is true, and especially when you're dealing with a Russian citizen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's gonna be. This is an entirely different thing to have to discuss. Of which I do not have nearly enough alcohol to do right now at 10:33 in the morning.
Why not?
It's going to be a lot. Because it's going to be a lot, and a lot of it's out of his control.
Exactly. I mean, when it gets there, it gets there, and we can talk about it then. That's perfectly fine. It was just one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you, sir, is the other big story that's going on currently in Paris.
Which?
And it appears that Canada Soccer's decided to appeal.
Okay.
as he's muted himself.
No, it's okay. And yeah, Michael, TRAs took a while, and I think that had to do with. I think that was extenuating circumstances, because you got Sabas pretty quickly. You got Shande's done pretty quickly. TRAs was the outlier.
Yeah.
When you go through those, whatever made it hold up, it sounds like his was held up. But again, that's the outlier. So it's one of those things where you have people who know the right buttons to push, you know the right forms to fill out, you know which boxes to fill out on the forms at this point. So you do your job, and you hope that everything gets processed quickly. Yeah. So Canada's falling into that category right now of, I low-key kind of am hoping that their punishment gets worse in the grounds of ridiculous protest. Well, on one hand, I get what some of them are saying, which is hey, the players weren't the ones doing the drones. According to reports last week, the players were watching drone footage though.
Yeah.
And being instructed on how they needed to perform in the match based on that drone footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's just a lot. Because you did all of this, and I'm sure some of the argument will be, well, everybody's doing it. Like, well, do we know that? Do we know that everyone's doing it? Yeah, the Sophia Smith rule, David. Of like, I would be very tickled if they heard Canada's protest and went, actually, we're gonna add another penalty on for you wasting our time with this protest. We have better things to do. There was a catered lunch we missed out on because we had to listen to you explain why you shouldn't be punished for something you did.
Yes. So here's the deal. Earlier today, and this is released from the COC. This was from their statement. Earlier today, the Canadian Olympic Committee and Canada Soccer have appealed FIFA's automatic deduction of 6 points from the Canadian Soccer Association's women's representative teams standing in Group A of the Olympic football tournament at the Paris 2024 Olympics. That's a rather long sentence that has a lot of predicate nouns and verbs that are attached. Just say, look, we're appealing. Paragraph 2. The appeal is based on the disproportionality of the sanction, which we believe unfairly punishes the athletes for actions they had no part in and goes far beyond restoring fairness to the match against New Zealand. The appeal has been submitted to the Court of Arbitration for Sports ad hoc tribunal in Paris for the Olympic Games, which allows for matters to be heard on an expedited basis during the Games in order to preserve the integrity of the appeal process. We will wait until the process is complete to comment further. Decision expected around midday tomorrow, according to Devin Aru at CBC. And CAS admits in a media release that is registered that the CAS has registered the following new procedures. Basically, it's yes, we acknowledge that we're going to be looking at this. COC and Canada Soccer versus FIFA and New Zealand Football and New Zealand Olympic Committee and the French Federation and the Committee of Sport in France and the Colombian Federation and the Colombian Olympic Committee. Application filed by the COC and Canada Soccer. 6-point deduction as well as 1-year suspensions from taking part in any football-related activity for officials Beverly Priestman, Joseph Lombardi, and Jasmine Mander were imposed by the FIFA Appeal Committee in its decision after it's established that breaches of the FIFA regulations. This is a lot of words. This is word salad.
This is just all word salad.
Yeah, the applicants seek a decision from the CAS ad hoc division, either canceling or reducing the points deduction. The applicants do not request relief with respect to the 1-year suspensions imposed on the officials. Panel is being constituted. A hearing with the parties is likely to take place today. Final decision should be issued around midday tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, make it work. I got something else on there. There's a part of me that resides in chaos that would be incredibly tickled if Canada somehow got through this group. Like if they win all their games and they go through with 3 points, I will laugh my ass off. But yeah, go ahead and slap them down with something else. Do the Sophia Smith thing. It's like the second most stressful thing happening in Paris right now. The other one being that the Seine is back to being filthy and filled with sewage because they tried to clean it up, but then it rained so much that the sewage ran off into the Seine. So the triathlon's basically just going to be like a duathlon, and I don't know how they're going to do the distance swimming events because you cannot swim in that river. It is full of E. coli.
Let's go to the pool.
We can do 400 laps.
Yep. Why not?
Part of the appeal is the open water aspect of it, but yeah, apparently the sewage ran off, and so it's back to being bad.
They spent $1.5 billion trying to fix that stuff.
Yeah, well, they failed.
That did not work. Apparently, possibly, probably, allegedly. I mean, I will say this, it does not surprise me one bit that Canada Soccer has appealed.
Oh, no. Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
you have to, you literally, you have to in that kind of a situation. I will give them a little bit of a cookie for not pursuing the penalties that were imposed upon Priestman, her assistant, and the the analyst. It's like we're going to leave that one alone. So, you get a little bit of a cookie for that. So we'll see what happens with this. Like I said, hearing is supposed to happen today. Decision's supposed to happen tomorrow. And so we'll see. I mean, knowing the Olympics, anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing should
That's
surprise.
true.
Nothing should surprise anyone. I'm laying this groundwork right now. Nothing should surprise anyone whatsoever about any kind of a decision from the Court of Arbitration for Sport during an Olympic element.
Well, again, though, if you pull back on these punishments, you are opening a sizable door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of where you're at, man. You're opening kind of a messy situation.
Mm-hmm. And we, over the last couple days, we have been playing some sound from Canadian media. And our buddy Christian Jack, we played his sound yesterday as a part of the discussion, wondering about, okay, who are we as a country? This is not who we are. This is not who we should be. And also the John Herdman comments, we played those yesterday as well. And it was because John Herdman said what he said on Friday, which lit this whole thing on fire all over again. When
John Herdman does not understand that it costs you nothing just to shut your damn mouth.
Yes.
Like, man, look, you got enough things going on in Toronto without firing from the hip. Like, that's maybe don't do that.
Uh-huh.
Just a thought. Just a thought.
Uh-huh.
Maybe. But no, John Herdman just decided to just YOLO it. So whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. Bev Priestman. I'm trying to see if there's anything else from the Bev Priestman. I mean, remember that Bev Priestman and John Herdman. Priestman was a protege of Herdman. They go back to his small-time coaching days in club. So you want to draw those connections, you can do that far.
He should just stop talking. He won't, but he should, because there's no benefit from him keeping on going. There's not. You already had the NYC stuff this year, which was super sketchy, and then you had to go out there and give a almost comically qualified statement. Like, the amount of, conditions you put in that statement were, frankly, as suspicious as anything. Just stop talking. Just ask not to talk about it. And I get, I think whoever was doing comms for Leagues Cup was like, can we just get questions about Leagues Cup?
Yes.
No, we're not going to. No, we want to ask him about this.
Yes.
Because it might impact multiple tournaments going back in time, including the World Cup and the Copa, and it's a mess, man. But
impacting things as far back as 2019.
Just leave well enough alone, man.
Stop talking, or don't stop talking. If you want to keep digging, keep digging.
Anyway.
Yes.
I've enjoyed the games otherwise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what we've seen from the United States, and Emma Hayes is requesting that her players be even more ruthless.
Yes.
She is
they were pretty good against Germany.
Yeah. 4-1. She described the team as devastating. Sophia Smith scores twice in the first half, either side of a Mallory Swanson goal. Lynn Williams comes off the bench She said that it was a mature performance. You have to suffer. Of course you do, and they're a top team, but I thought we were devastating when we needed to be. There are still things that irritate me about us, but that's for me to fix. And I say that genuinely, purely because I think we could have controlled it even more. And I think that all coaches are good in that. That even in what we would sit here, if we were looking at it from afar or if we're sitting in the stands, and this is another thing I'll get into in a second, but if you're winning by these kinds of margins, if you are a coach, you're a coach that is still looking at things that need to be fixed. It's like, no, we ain't perfect. No, we won 4-1. Okay, great. We were devastating when we needed to be, but we still have things to work on. That's the kind of things that with a team like this, with the United States, you still need to push those kinds of buttons and sit there and it's like, no, we ain't perfect. No, we still got ish to do. There's still stuff that we got to work on. And top in the group takes them to Paris for a quarterfinal match on Saturday against the runners-up in Group C, which could be some combination of Spain, Japan, Brazil, and Nigeria. Gee, thanks. Hayes said, I'm not here to wow everyone for a game and not do it again. We have to build momentum. We have to analyze things that are in our control, and we have to win against Australia. Simple as that. And so unchanged lineup from one game to the next. Obviously, you've got to look at Tierna Davidson and check her injury status. And there's been nothing outside of lower body injury. It's very Stanley Cup-ish when it comes to the designation. I know a lot of folks were gravitating to the knee because it was knee-to-knee contact. But, yeah, it was very, very Stanley Cup-ish when it came to describing the initial injury when the match happened. It's like, yeah, it's a lower body injury. No other detail. Nor in an Olympic tournament should you sit there and say what it actually is because you're giving the opponent.
We do this all the time. Like we did this a couple of years ago. People got way bent out of shape. Go back to 2020 when Ezekiel Barco was like banged up, and I think it was Stephen Glass was managing at the time. Was just like not giving information. You're like, what's the status of Barco? He's like, he's fine. He's a little banged up. It'll be okay. Yeah. And like people were like very upset at him about this. And yeah, but if you, however much runway, however much runway you give them for teams to give you very, very vague injury information is how much they're going to take. They don't. It is not in their interest.
No.
To divulge detailed injury information. You don't have to like it.
Nope.
But that's where it's at.
Yeah. That's need to know basis, and you don't need to know. Bottom line.
In a lot of leagues, like you'll have, NFL injury reports are a bit more detailed, and they have to release them like during the week, stuff like that. That people like getting those reports, but if they can get away with it, yeah, teams won't tell you anything. They don't want to tell you anything. They do it because they have to. Yeah. Hell, the New England Patriots for years were like, I think they were getting fined pretty consistently under Belichick. Because there would be times where they would just like not tell you anything. And then they would like, oh, that wasn't the injury report. The hell, Atlanta got dinged a couple of years ago because Arthur Smith didn't detail out that there was last year, I think, was Bijan Robinson was banged up or he was sick right before the Tampa Bay game. Is what it was. I was trying to remember which game it was. And Bijan was banged up. He only had like 2 carries in the game, and then after the game, like, oh yeah, he wasn't 100%, but that wasn't detailed before the game. Yeah, they're going to tell you exactly as much as their arm is twisted to tell you, and nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to like it. That's just the way teams operate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Patriots either put everyone or no one on that list. Partially because you had a head coach who was just absolute psychopath. Brilliant psychopath, but a psychopath nevertheless.
Yes.
And David mentioned it. I'm very interested to see how the rise in sports gambling impacts these things, because the coaches don't care. They're trying to win games. They're trying to keep their job.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches are trying to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
But people doing the gambling, they don't care.
No, they don't.
They're trying to.
I need my competitive advantage over my fellow gambler.
Exactly. So they can all go get locked into the William J. Lepetame Memorial Gambling Casino for the insane.
Yes, absolutely true. Let's see. We got to update scores from what's going on in the Olympic 5-ring chaos that is currently going on, as it's the last day of group stage, and matches start simultaneously. And so it is right now. We have all of our matches go final from the 9 o'clock. I guess they did.
They weren't close. About to say, if they weren't close, then that makes sense.
Yeah, Dominican Republic, Uzbekistan are drawn at 1 right now at 90+1. That does not help the Dominican Republic at all. Egypt is beating Spain right now 2-1 at 90+1. That will, I think what that does, if my memory is correct, then what that would do is that would put Egypt atop the group if they win as the top seed out of Group C, and then Group C's number 2 would be Spain. Like I said, a draw does not help the Dominican Republic in their quest, and an Egypt win does not help them either. So it looks like Spain and Egypt, in some order, are going to be the 1 and the 2 coming out of Group C as we get ready for the 11 o'clock matches of where are we? Crap. I had them, and then they just decided to disappear from them. So the 11 o'clock matches are Morocco, Iraq, Ukraine, and Argentina in the true group of death. The absolute group of death, where everyone is 1-0-1, everyone has 3 points, and goal difference is separated by 2 goals.
Okay. Should be fun for everyone involved.
Yes.
Not fun, not fun at all.
No. So if you wish to keep an eye on some guy named Thiago Almada, you have the chance to do that coming up in about 7 minutes, and that will be on Telemundo and Peacock. Not that we would either promote or do play-by-play in any kind of this.
No, we don't want to get in trouble with the IOC.
No. Universo and Peacock has Morocco and Iraq at 11 o'clock. I feel like Bill Haley in the comments all of a sudden. 90+4, Egypt is still winning, 90+3. And the Dominican Republic and Uzbekistan are still drawn at 1. One other thing that I wanted to get into this morning, and it's the lower divisions. And there are some times when you'll look at folks that you have in your timelines on your social media, and you sit there and you go, oh, okay, I guess I need to follow this. And it's probably one of the least surprising things, sadly, that we've come across, and it has to do with NISA. Dan Creel follows the lower divisions, and he does a lot of work and observations in the lower divisions. And Dan is putting on his 280 character app. There are, and I know this will shock everybody, Dan has more rumors about the Georgia FC situation.
The last we checked, they haven't paid people.
Right. Dan says he's hearing players have not been paid in months. A number of players have quit the team over this, and that there may be legal action against the organization due to that situation. And then someone asked Dan about ownership. And in our conversations, remember the conversations that we had with the commissioner, Commissioner Prutch before the season started, they were touting the ownership group and how they were, going to see things through the way that they were in more than one city, playing home matches and getting games at Silverbacks Park on a Friday afternoon.
And I can tell you the way that went down, because basically they came to Silverbacks Park late and said, we need a place to play. You have for those of you in the Atlanta area playing the home game, you know about Silverbacks Park. It is home to many adult leagues. Boris is going to give those adult leagues priority because the adult leagues pay on time, which is something NISA can't say. And then you have Apatios, you have the Atlanta Hustle was there as well. The only spot open for them was like the day games. So they were like playing Friday and Saturday at noon. That was the only slot they were offered, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll take it. I was like, okay, well, there you go. It's the only slot you got. So, no big red flag there.
And so someone asked Dan, who owns the club, and this was somewhat tongue-in-cheek, in the conversation. 280 character app follower asked Dan, who owns the club and how much do they want for it? Dan did a little digging. And according to a filing with the state of Georgia, an application for certificate of authority, NISA itself owns the LLC behind Georgia FC.
Is that just the name, I guess?
It is listed the business name and business type. Business name, Georgia FC LLC. It is listed as a foreign limited liability company. Home jurisdiction in Delaware, which is done a lot of the time to save money. Perpetual duration. Name in the home state, Georgia FC LLC. Date of formation in the home jurisdiction was 4 months ago. So basically the start of the season, Georgia FC as an LLC, NISA owns the LLC. Take that information as you wish, but also when it comes to NISA, Golden Ball, and this is getting into teams and things, Golden Ball advanced in the NISA Independent Cup because of a Georgia FC forfeit 2 days ago.
Yep, because the players are not paid and they're not showing up. Because if you don't pay people to play a game for a living, this is one of the things we talk about with Atlanta, with MLS in general, that like one of the perks of MLS is the check clears. That may not sound like a big deal to you until you've played somewhere where the check doesn't clear.
Yep. Absolutely true. And the release that came from the league itself declared the Independent Cup match between Golden Ball and Georgia FC scheduled for Sunday, this past, a forfeit due to league operations manual violations on the part of GAFC. GAFC has also been issued an undisclosed fine and will be incurring a 3-point deduction on the NISA table for failing to follow standards set forth in the NISA League Operations Manual.
Okay,
so
but
how does that work?
I guess that's my question as well. Because you have this thing right now where, like, we've set these standards. Okay, but it seems to be a recurring thing that people are not hitting these standards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
like,
and
well,
also,
we have these standards you have to hit. Bro, ain't nobody hitting your damn standards.
And also,
your damn org is a mess.
If the league owns the LLC that is attached to the club, are you fining yourself? If NISA owns the LLC behind Georgia FC, and you are fining Georgia FC,
you're fining someone else because they're not going to find themselves. Like, I guess that's my thing. It's like they're not going to find themselves. They're going to They're going to find someone to ask money from. Whether or not they get the money is an entirely different question that I cannot answer.
Mm-hmm.
They will ask for the money.
Yeah.
Will they get the money? Your guess is as good as mine, bud.
And just for giggles, looking at the grid, I guess while they're in this competition, the next match for Georgia FC is a 2-game in 4-day road trip to Club de Lyon and Michigan Stars. August 20th.
This is the thing, man. Like, and I get, like, Nisa technically is a second division club, correct?
Yeah.
You have not shown everybody that you have the resources or the money to be doing a second division operation on a national scale. Like, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have not shown everybody that you are capable of consistently funding and functioning in this way.
Yeah. You've got a team in trouble in Savannah.
Yep.
You've got a team that is apparently owned by the league, the LLC, that is behind the club, that is getting fined and not paying players and hasn't paid them for months. And sure, okay, fine. Next matchup, by the way, at home for Georgia FC is at Silverbacks Park on September the 7th. So there's a while. And I know that this will surprise you.
But
September 7th is a Saturday afternoon. Actually, get it on a Saturday afternoon. At 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon in August is the next home match at Silverbacks Park for Georgia FC.
None of it is sustainable. Like, this entire existence is not a sustainable one.
And it's their last home match of the year, by the way.
Okay, well, thank God.
Yeah.
We'll see if they get paid for it.
Well, and then they've got a road game at Savannah the following Saturday in Savannah at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
What if both teams don't show?
Oh.
Like, would you be shocked, John?
No.
Because, like, neither team is getting paid?
Yeah.
Like, what if, like, they just cancel that game?
Yeah. And then Savannah gets to go on the road the following Saturday to Michigan. Good luck. I feel sorriest for the players and for the individuals that were investing their time.
Yeah.
Like the folks that they're not a part. They're the folks that are there for the game day operation, the social media, all the interns, the folks that are basically donating their time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are the ones that you really have empathy for in this situation because they saw something, they saw an opportunity, and that opportunity has basically just been a flash bomb that has gone off in their hand all season long. Players, game day operations, support staff, all that stuff. Those are the first people I think of in a situation like this.
Yeah, and you feel sorry for them. I think there is also a balance of, like, we feel sorry for them, but also hopefully that this is the last go around for them. Because after one season of this, I don't know how to say this without it sounding mean, but after one season of this, you got to be like, nope. Because if you are not getting what you were promised after an entire season, then that is on you. Now, if you went into this thing and they said, hey, I don't know what we can pay you. If you want to come out and do some stuff and maybe we create something down the road, yeah, totally fine. If you went into this expecting payment and you haven't been getting it, that's something you need to address with you.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where my brain is at with it, you know.
Yep. What to watch today? It is obviously the last day of the group stage. You got the 11 o'clocks, the 1 o'clocks, and the 3 o'clocks. Morocco, Iraq, Ukraine, and Argentina right now. It's all on Peacock, plus the other places. New Zealand, France, USA and Guinea's at 1. Israel, Japan, Paraguay, Mali's at 3. That's the end of the group stage on the men's side. Today, it's the return of the Leagues Cup. Friendly Manchester City, Barcelona's at 7. That's on the Deuce. Monterey and Austin is on FS1 at 9 o'clock. U20s, FS2 at 5. If the U.S. wins with Noah Cobb on the roster, they advance. We mentioned the Olympic men. USA's on USA. That's a sense of irony for you. Telemundo's got it as well. Unimouse simulcasting Leagues Cup. The other 5 Leagues Cup matches are on Apple TV. Atletico San Luis, CF Montreal's at 7. Jurgen Damm and Johnny Vial possible sightings. Pachuca, Red Bulls at 8. Minnesota Necaxa at 9. Monterey, Austin at 9. LAFC, Vancouver at 10:30. 4 friendlies on the plus. Alaves, Tenerife at 12:40. Everton, Coventry City at 2:40. Barcelona, Manchester City at 7. Lou City and Eintracht Frankfurt is at 8. Fox Soccer Plus has Central American Cup at 6. Mentioned Peacock. VIX has USA and Guatemala at 5. What else are you looking at today?
Yeah, basically the rest of the year, the rest of the Olympic game. All the other sports. Like this is my time. This is one of my favorite times every 4 years where we get Olympic events. We get to see wild stuff, and we get to see one of my favorite things in life, which is when something happens and everyone pretends they instantly become an expert, without having to ask someone else for advice on something. If you don't understand something, just ask. It's okay, and then be impressed by wild things that happen. Just enjoy it. Also, I'll be watching to see if this Jason Russell Rowe thing picks up any speed in Columbus, because last I checked, I think it was Celtic that had reached out about him. Although I could see Rangers also having the money to pull that off.
Yes.
Also, Justin Howlett will not be returning to Aberdeen.
Ooh.
Yeah. Canadian international.
Okay. Understandable there. Let's see. So I thought tomorrow, Tyler Pilgrim, 9:15, getting us ready for Chelsea and Club America tomorrow as well. Hopefully Dylan Butler can join us at 10 o'clock, and we're efforting some other folks. We'll see if other folks can join us then. Once again, remember, Thursday, stacked FC Naples at 9:30, Nino and Nico at 10 and 10:30. Friday, it is Beyond Goals at 9:30, our friends at FC Motown at 10. We're going to have to see if we can shore up our flanks and see if we can grab our friends from Seacoast United, the other half of the USL League Two championship as well, and catch up with our friends on Friday from El Farolito and their 12 restaurants. See, now, anytime El Farolito is mentioned, to me, all I can think of is really good Mexican food in Northern California. And so we'll see if we can catch up with them as they travel to the other end of the planet to take on FC Motown in the NPSL title game, and see if we can catch up with El Farolito on Friday. Jarrett, whistle us out of here.